So today we're going to talk about seats in the MGB, but not MGB seats, my seats. These are out of like a 2008 Pontiac Solstice, and I've got to do some work on the interior, so one of them's got to come out. So I figured I'd show you about them and the bracket that makes it happen. Ta-da! All right, so this is the seat out of a 2008 Pontiac Solstice. Like I said, I did take a tape measure to the junkyard and just saw what I could pull out that would fit. This one is, I think it's like 21 inches wide, which fits asterisk. Here's the bracket that I made up to make that happen. As you can see, it was necessary to offset the rails. So once you pull up the adjustment lever, you can slide the rails left and right individually. And because of the transmission tunnel, which I may not have taken into account with my measurements, you actually have to set the one rail further backwards in order to clear the transmission tunnel. So the inner rail needs to go further back than the outside rail because the tunnel, the area for the seat gets thinner the further forward that you go. So I've got a pattern for this. I'm going to find that and I'll link it in the description if you're at all interested in this. But this is the bracket that makes the magic happen. The brackets take the 4 mounting holes that your MG would normally use and convert it to a wider pattern for the sliders on the Pontiac Solstice seat. What I did is I drilled these holes and tapped them and then ran a grade 8 bolt up through the bottom so that this can't spin. Alternatively, you could have welded these onto the back, or you could have just put a stud in and welded it in place, but I chose to go the easier route with less welding, and this is literally just a tapped hole with a grade 8 bolt up through it. I'm sure if you had the means, you could have this thing plasma cut out of some 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch steel or whatever. You could also probably use something called Send Cut Send and have them make it for you, although I'm not sure if they do parts this big or not. What I did is I went to just Home Depot and bought some steel strap in the thickness that I needed and cut the pieces to fit into this pattern, and then I had it welded and just welded the pieces like a giant puzzle together to form this shape. If I had to do it over again, I would probably pick smaller seats, maybe out of a Mazda Miata or something else. These end up being actually pretty tall, all things considered, and you notice that until I put my smaller diameter steering wheel on there, there's not a whole lot of room between the driver's seat and the wheel. I think this wheel is about a 14-inch wheel or 15. I got a 13-inch wood wheel that I'll be putting on there, so it'll give me at least a little bit more distance between my legs and the steering wheel. Another option would be to cut the seat mount down and re-weld it, but I really didn't want to go through all that work for something I knew I was going to be swapping out anyway, like the steering wheel. The driver's side definitely fits better than the passenger side because you don't have an e-brake in the way. This parking brake is higher off the floor than the bracket, so you can slide the seat bracket underneath it. You just can't slide the bracket down past this very easily. So you have to put in the inside first and then lean it out to the outside in order to get it to slide past the parking brake handle. One other gotcha I ran into is that the back of each seat leg in the middle ran into the seatbelt mount. So I had to trim that out with an angle grinder on both seats so that I could get the seat to fit in with the seatbelt bolt in place. As far as the seats go, they're actually really comfortable, have good lumbar support, the cushions are nice and firm because they're out of a newer car, and they provide way more support than the MG seats ever would have.